Good late Tuesday, early Wednesday. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center right now, giving the latest look here at that Doppler radar across the region. You can see here some shower activity in spots, but even some storms there in toward the Big Bend, southern Big Bend, south of Tallahassee, Roy, where we're calling that official thunderstorm activity. So let's go ahead and zoom on, and you might have saw it there flashes for a second when we're switching systems there to come on. But let's go ahead and give you a loop here of that Doppler radar as we get further on down there. You can see some of this action heading up toward Crawfordville there and toward Wakulla County, already moving through parts of Franklin County here just before 1 a.m. Eastern time on this Wednesday morning. Now the overnight period here late into that Wednesday, that travel day before Thanksgiving. So again, something to kind of keep in mind as we just watch this activity kind of move along. You see some heavier downpours moving toward Tallahassee, maybe the worst of moving more there, Franklin, Wakulla, and then into parts of Jefferson later on, as there is kind of that eastern movement here, but with that northerly component as well. Maybe as you can kind of see here, northeast or east northeast could kind of describe it there as we're kind of looking at things right now. So again, just continue to monitor things here because we do have that potential we've talked about for some severe weather. It's small here still. We haven't had any local warnings. We'd have been on, of course, with them, but there were tornado warnings, thunderstorm warnings, at least the posting about them not coming on, depending on the overall significance there, what we were seeing. But I never had that come into play at this point, as of this point. So that's the good news. But let's go ahead and just remind you guys of our counties here. You can see where we're at with those right now. We're in the ward parts of Wakulla and Franklin, but a little bit of Liberty there and more than Liberty's coverage there, covered by Axon there in Leon. So again, just gonna keep looking at things here as we progress in the timeline. Gonna have some showers, storms here as we get toward maybe sunrise, further on over, more so into north central Florida. So that's going to be something to watch. Not really expecting severe weather. Doesn't seem at this point based on the latest from the Storm Prediction Center, but we'll just continue to give you guys the latest here just in case we get a rogue warning or two. That's not out of the question here. I mentioned that yesterday. I thought we'd see a little bit more out toward the west, to be quite honest here. And we would have kind of seen just a little bit of that lingering around, but we haven't seen much yet. But it's a renegade type threat here. So there's something to kind of bear in mind. Got to be kind of careful because we did have a situation where we had really not many warnings further out toward the west there, but we had one toward a big county there around, but not right over Panama City. We had some rotation. Don't think we had anything from that, but then we had another area there of rotation that showed up, kind of prompted some severe thunderstorm warning acts, and then a tornado warning. Then it was a confirmed tornado that was in southeastern Alabama there. But that fell apart before it got into our covered area. Even fell apart from producing an actual tornado, it seems, before it got toward Dothan. But nonetheless, here something that kind of worth mentioning here. Something that's kind of worth mentioning. So just kind of bring that up here as we're looking at things right now. Here in the weather center. Again, it's calm up there now. That thread over out that way into southeast Alabama, but again, got to kind of get this progressing here through our area a little bit more so as we're looking at things here. This was a risk here a little bit earlier on. It's a change in our other system because technically the way it works with our system is it kind of sees things here and it's looking at things here. Once the new outlook comes out, it doesn't. So the old one here, that one valid after 7 a.m., no risk, but right now still in that marginal risk. So a marginal 1 out of 5 wind tornado risk here still remains as we're looking toward areas further off to the east. We're that area in the yellow. That was the bigger risk. We never saw anything in our covered area with that materialize, and most of the actions kind of moved past that now. So that area, even though it's kind of counterintuitive, they're pretty much in the all clear out that way. But areas further east of Albany, still got to watch a little bit, maybe more so into Big Bend, where that potential would seem to be a little bit higher. Actually, you have multiple ways to get alerts just in case. Not too concerned here, but still make sure you have those methods to really get woken up here in these type of situations. So again, I just popped those up in case we get a rogue tornado warning. Not expecting a tornado watch. Not going to have an organized enough threat for that to come into play. But again, we'll continue to track things there. Let me go ahead and go over to the graphics. I think that'd be a good place to go here at this point. Let's go ahead and pop those up. You can kind of see the tropics. Just kind of reminding you guys about that here. As you see, hurricane season, really that ending here is near, as we have a lesser chance here, tropical development in the Atlantic Basin. We could get some development still right now, not concerned about it. That's the good news. Hurricane season does there run through November 30th officially, of course. We'll keep tracking things. I know that is next week. Speaking of next week, that'll be the next time we have a formal update here from from us to you guys from the Weather Center. We're talking about a situation here where Thanksgiving is on that Thursday, so enjoy that. So our next formal update will be next week there, next Tuesday. But as we're kind of looking at things, I know if we have anything that's severe or even tornadic here in our area, we'll make sure we're breaking in just here in case we'll be paying attention. So, of course, as we look at this, you see Idalia there, a scenario where Idalia, it was a very, very significant blow for us here across portions of the covered area. Not everybody, obviously, but worth reminding you guys, we get near that 3-month anniversary now. That storm, that anniversary will be at the end of hurricane season at November 30th. So you can see the August 30th at about 7:45 a.m. This storm that made landfall there on Keaton Beach, preliminarily a Category 3 with winds of 125 miles per hour, maximum sustained at minimum pressure at 949 millibars. You can just see all the damage, devastation caused, Horseshoe Beach there. As we look back over there in Dixie County, once again, just reminding everybody that maybe wasn't impacted what did go on over there. This is what it looked like a few weeks after the storm. And then you can see right when the storm was happening toward Taylor County there. We showed this live on the air in our coverage. The Florida 511 camera showed the extreme winds moving through. You can just see some of that debris even flying around there. US 19/98 there at Ash Street. And then you can see from 1 week after the storm, the damage to a Dollar Tree in that area in the Perry region. Moving over to Dowling Park in Swanee County, a lot of damage from the storm 1 week after as well. But getting toward that rainfall forecast over the next 7 days, I know we had a gloomy pattern last week. It kind of cleared out, but then gonna get kind of a little bit rainier at points here across the region. Cooler air on the way here for sure. Going to be pretty chilly at times, not toward like frost advisories or freeze warnings really, but just a situation where, especially Thanksgiving morning, is looking pretty chilly. So make sure you're bundling up if you have any Thanksgiving Day plans, and even as we're just looking past that, you'll be able to see there what I'm talking about. We'll get to that in a few moments. Again, we're not on airclutter.com/radar. Gives you an interactive look at things. You see overall here those blues there that show up in the covered area give us about a ½ an inch of rain, give or take. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. That's on average, of course. You see that darker green there, that's closer to a ½ of an inch precipitation. And then as we see now, there's some high school football forecast. It's going to be pretty cool, not really cold, but this is at 2S FHSA playoffs there. As we're looking toward the game, Baker County Wildcats, they're 8-3 visiting mainly Bradford Tornadoes 12-0 here in Stark. Upper 50s, 40% chance of rain, showers, and maybe an isolated thunderstorm possible. With that temperature, you think more showers. It's kind of subject to change at this point. We're not going to have a full update Thursday, as we're mentioning Thanksgiving. So I wanted to go ahead and get these out there for everybody. So there's still a little bit uncertainty here. This is what we're looking at for now. Bradford trying to move on to what would be the last 4 there in 2 West there, 2 Suburban. So again, just kind of worth noting there. As we go ahead and see, though, college football now, that forecast. My Seminoles there headed right down to Gainesville in Alachua County Saturday night at 7 p.m. That game on ESPN there. Huge game for FSU as we're looking at things, as we're kind of giving you guys the latest in that regard as we kind of check things out. The forecast doesn't look too bad, but again, a little bit on the cool side there. Now, Gators will be used to that because they went up to Missouri in conditions that were even a little bit cooler. As we were looking back there, as we were looking back last Saturday, and they performed very well against the Missouri Tigers there, who are a top 10 team. They're right there. The quarterback getting hurt, of course, and heard that storyline there with Graham Mertz, and of course, I'm sure you've heard the Jordan Travis storyline. Thoughts and prayers go out to both of them as they were injured here. And for Jordan Travis and FSU, that's a season-ending injury, a huge deal. Very, very unfortunate for the Seminoles here. This cruel how things work sometimes in college football. Such a great year. I mean, in the running at least, maybe not in the top three or whatever, but for the Heisman, he was really performing very well in Seminole history, and his career now at FSU is over, and the team has to step up, Roy, in the aftermath of that injury here. As you can see, again, we alluded to it upper 50s and the 20% chance of rain. Not expecting much rain around, maybe a little breezy, partly cloudy. The conditions aren't bad for this time of year, it doesn't look like. So that's the good news. 7 p.m. kick there on ESPN, the lead announced team for them calling that one. So a lot of eyes will be on that contest here. I know Roy has some implications in the college football playoff rankings here. And just in the overall resume of the Noles, Roy can't take a loss here at this point, based on everything that's kind of setting on up. As you know, Noles here are looking to get that win. Now they were down to number 5 in the rankings tonight. I have them at number 3 though in my rankings that we keep showing you guys here, showing you many weeks. But really, it's gonna be a situation where hopefully things kind of work themselves out as we look here later on, because you see 5 unbeaten here, the power schools. We have Liberty unbeaten as well as we get way down there with the top 25, the official one. But you can see these power schools there, 11 and 0. I mean, these power conference schools. You can see what we're talking about there. With Georgia, I have them number 1. And the metrics aren't as good as you would think they would be. 2-time defending champs. Ohio State number 2, and then FSU there number 3. My Noles, I'm gonna keep them there right now. I kind of moved Washington back up. That's the only change from last week. It's since they did go to Corvallis, got that 2-point win, a very close game. Beat the Oregon State Beavers. Michigan, they've kind of struggled. They barely beat Maryland, who Penn State beat very easily. So you got to wonder how they're going to really perform against Ohio State. If Michigan loses, they have to be out of the running, you would think, for the college football playoff based on the resume. There's some discussion, hopefully not from my nose, that if Ohio State loses, they could still work their way back in. But hopefully they didn't have anything to do with putting one-loss teams ahead of an unbeaten 13-0 conference champion, which could be other teams, but specifically we're probably talking about the Noles here. And that's something to kind of keep our eyes on. Hadn't happened, folks, since '04. Outside of some different anomalies or not being in a power conference, that a team there, that was Auburn back then, that was left out of a national championship, really that national championship race there, because there just weren't enough spots. Those teams ahead of them back then, I believe Oklahoma, USC both undefeated, that made it to the championship then. USC was a heavy, their type favorite against Oklahoma, and they won there easily. They won very easily against the Sooners at that point back then. But nonetheless, here you're looking at things, and you're just seeing here, just definitely wouldn't be fair to the Noles here. Everything they've done all year long to leave them out of the college football playoff with a 13-0 and unbeaten. Again, that hadn't happened in almost 2 decades. But when I was at FSU, the discussion was when we were 13-0 that year. Well, maybe they said leave FSU out of the first playoff there. 2014 is what I'm talking about, the playoff, actually, when we're talking about leaving folks out, of course, 2013 season when we won the championship. But just kind of looking at things there. FSU getting those wins against LSU there. The neutral side, beating Clemson on the road. beating other teams that have been pretty good as well. If they get the next 2 wins, which are going to be tough, but if they get them, that'll be a win over Florida, who is much better. I think their offense, especially even without Graham Mertz, who is great. Their backup looked really good in relief there. Florida, not a 5-6 team. When you're looking at their offense is one of the better ones in the country. Their defense is where they struggle more so. But their offense, I mean, Bill Napier's an offensive coach here, and you can see it. They're going to be a tough team for Florida State, for my Seminoles on Saturday in Gainesville here as we're looking ahead. And in Louisville, I know their schedule may be a tad weaker than you would think as you're looking at some of the different metrics. They didn't play FSU or Clemson or North Carolina during the season there. Got to hope to beat Kentucky and keep them as high up there as we can with one loss. And if FSU can beat two teams like that here with their backup quarterback in play, then that would seemingly bode well for the Seminoles here as we're looking at things, you would think. Hopefully, getting the job done here as we look ahead. But right now, let's get toward that forecast, looking ahead in that regard. As you guys will be staying up late or kind of staying tuned for this, so let's go ahead and get to it. 60% chance there rain on that Wednesday here, so got to keep an eye on the radar in case we get a warning or two. But since we're talking about college football, I'm not too concerned right now about anything at present, but we'll monitor things just in case here on the Doppler. I'll continue to give you guys the latest. In fact, let's just, since I kind of alluded to it, let's real quick go back over to you see a little bit of wind enhancement in Franklin County. New advisory. We did have one down there earlier on. We had a little bit of wind push there in McCullough. Not as heavy a one as in Franklin. They may issue another significant advisory down there. We're seeing winds about 45 as we get north of Caravel, west of St. Teresa, and that may head up closer to Ward areas there in southern McCullough County over the next little bit. But no advisories right now. Could get a very rogue power outage out of something like this. But right now, it's more about strong storms probably than severe. But don't completely lay your guard down here, just in case. Because we've seen things, we saw things been up in Alabama there on that Tuesday very quickly into a tornado right around sunset there. As things in an odd pattern. We have kind of that wind energy that's been in play here, and sometimes these setups are a little bit more prone to producing something really quickly and then fading back away to make it look like nothing's really ever there. So it's kind of tricky here, folks. But going back to Ward, that extended outlook now, you can see for Thanksgiving rain chances really low, but cool air in the storyline. 64 for that high on Thursday. 64 on that Friday. You see the rain chances go up a little there on that Black Friday there. You're doing that shopping, so keep that in mind. I'm not expecting severely at this point, but we'll watch it just to make sure. We're not doing a formal update late Thursday, so we'll keep watching things just to make sure. I know we're watching things back out over Mississippi and the light there on Monday, but never had enough really of a risk there where we would need to go on in terms of either a moderate type of threat. That's how we're doing things at this point, or getting something closer to a tornado emergency. Never really had anything close to a tornado emergency. I don't believe we even had a PDS tornado warning out there. That was good. I did have some of those tornadoes touching down, but those were brief, generally type of touchdowns that would seem, for the most part, their debris signatures weren't as definitive with those, as we've seen in other events here that are a lot more dangerous, but still locally in that area for them, it was important for those local folks to watch that. But you can see here on that Saturday, 30% chance of rain there. On that Sunday, 10% chance of precipitation. So just something to kind of look at there in that regard. You can kind of see what we're talking about as we get temperatures there, 50s for the lows Monday, and then 70 for that high on Monday. You see 65 there for the high on Tuesday. Rain chances going up a bit. You see the averages there. Kind of get the idea. Things, points will deviate below, but get closer toward average here. You're looking at things. Even though it's been a little bit above, it's kind of coming back toward what maybe you'd expect here for this time of year. So, nothing terribly concerning, but we'll watch that low rogue severe threat here as we look ahead and toward that timeline. Let's get back on over right now toward the other view. You can kind of see here as we're kind of checking things on the Doppler technology. You see some sprinkles out ahead toward areas there just east of Lake City. It looks like in north parts of Union and Baker County. But again, nothing terribly concerning. We have a little bit of lightning to the west. We have that lightning potential. Honestly, we haven't had that around that much, so it's probably worth me pulling up in the summer. Had this every day, if not something more. But I'll go ahead and pull it up here real quick because this is our lightning thunderstorm risk here past 7 a.m. on that Wednesday. You can see what that would encompass. So really, that means the storm will be past Tallahassee by then, we would think. And then they should be getting out of right here even before that evening commute here, the typical evening commute time throughout our whole coverage area, which would be good because they've kind of taken their time further west, but they should kind of get kicked away here as we're looking later on in the timeline. I know there's a small severe risk up toward North Carolina, obviously, in this pattern, but we don't have one right now. Doesn't mean we won't get a rogue warning, though. So we'll be paying attention just in case here. We'll be monitoring things here in the Weather Center, trying to give you guys the very latest to protect you, protect your friends, protect your family here. Just trying to give you guys all the latest updates, obviously, on this type of situation here in case things do escalate in a very, very isolated fashion here. You never know. So we'll be paying attention, but not too concerned right now. Here is that. Look at all the different platforms that we're on, by the way. You can see here Facebook, KC Cloud, Liberty X, Cloud Weather. Then on Twitter, it's also called X there at Cloud Casey. YouTube at Cloud Weather there. Make sure you hit that subscribe button there. That's free. And then as all these other platforms are too, Twitch Cloud Weather, and then website clouda.com. All the different links available there, including even radar tab there that helps you guys out in these different instances. Let's get a new significant advisory, it looks like, down toward parts of McCullough and Franklin County. So let's go ahead and jump back over other source. It hadn't popped up on there on the screen, but it popped up on my other system here. That's to 215, that's to 40. So when we have these, sometimes it means you're kind of in a situation closer to a warning being issued. But here I don't think so, Roy. Probably just trying to make sure, since we haven't had this in a while, that folks are aware. It could get a little bit gusty down here, but if things were to ramp up here a little bit more than they might consider it's a bit thunderstorm morning with a tornado possible, Ted, that'd be mainly for Franklin County, and then even more so, well, then that wind down there could get us something a little bit more. If we got a little bit of red pumping in here, we'll have to be quite a bit of that to have to get a tornado warning. We actually saw that latest look at things there, kind of progressive things. Went to about 50, the possibility. You can kind of see that there is what I'm seeing actually on the current view. Again, the advisory is for winds about 40 or so. Let me click on the statement over here as we see that progressing. There it is, actually, the box. But wind gusts up to 40 there. Seeing this could strengthen, so let's not let our guard down here. Woodville, Carabel, Crawfordville, McCullough, Stop Choppy, Carabel Beach, Sadeville, McCullough Springs, Panacea. We have Curtis Mill, Alligator Point, St. Teresa, Turkey Point, ironically, day before Thanksgiving, Bald Point, Hyde Park, Panacea, McCullough Airport in here, and advisory, not a warning. But since we're on, let's just give you a heads up. Of course, if we get a warning, tornado warning, we have to come on immediately on all these different platforms there, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch. But if it's a situation where we don't have maybe a tornado warning, but it's a thunderstorm warning, we'll play it by ear. But if there's certain characteristics, certain populations involved, we'll be on for sure in that type of scenario as well. So watching the wind in there, the series right here is what we're talking about, winds to about, you see all that brighter color racing in there, winds to about 50 maybe, and that could head up in towards southern McCullough, Crawfordville there. If it's the wind gust up to 40, a possibility there. So we'll just continue to look at things in that regard, as I know some of you are traveling here for this holiday period, this holiday weekend per se. So something to kind of be watching here. I know a lot of folks don't just have Thursday off, but they have Friday off as well here. Some of them have the whole week off. But we're not going to have a full update here like we normally do on that late Thursday there as we're gonna be off for Thanksgiving. But if we need to be on for any inclement weather conditions, we'll make sure we let you guys know here from the Weather Center. For now, thanks so much for tuning in and trusting me. One more radar scan. We'll watch things down here. There's some lightning. Make sure whenever thunder rumbles, thunder roars, go indoors. But you can see there, we'll pay attention. Watch the St. Teresa. You can see some of those greens and reds there. They're about the same as they were earlier. Maybe just a bit brighter in some regard, but nothing too concerning. Definitely wouldn't be on for this if we weren't already on for our formal update. But still make sure you're paying attention down there. Let me just check something here. Probably don't need to check it, but thought I would look. Just make sure we don't have anything crazy popping up. We had that debris signature in Southern Alabama earlier. Wasn't really impressive, but it was there and we had a confirmed tornado, but nothing like that here right now. I'll be watching everything. We're here, I know, even if we're not on, we're here watching things hour after hour, at least on standby, so we can jump in as soon as it is necessary for us to be on. So keep it tuned to us here, but for now, have a great Thanksgiving weekend. Hopefully we don't have to come on here over the next days to come, but you can count on me if we do. But have a happy Thanksgiving. Stay safe out there. Thanksgiving period, Black Friday, the weekend, the different games going on, a lot of stuff happening. So hopefully the weather cooperates for things. For now, have a great night.